If you'd like to support this channel, we invite you to check us out on Patreon. Thank you so much. Hey, what's up guys? So it's been a little while since we've been out here. We got just a ton of rain last week, and so everything's really starting to take off and look really nice. And so today I thought we'd get out and do a little maintenance on the putting green. It's been a little while since we've been out there, and so today I thought we'd get out there and do a little mow. And then I want to do a top dressing on it to just kind of fill in some of the lumps and bumps from the winter time and just get that surface nice and smooth again as we go into spring and into summer. So I'm going to walk you guys kind of my process and how I like to do that light top dressing. And so let's go over here and let me show you guys around, show you how things are looking this spring. So it's been a few days since we've mowed out here, and you can see it's really tall. It's due for a mow. And last time I was out, I went ahead and sprayed some fertilizer at a quarter rate and put down some plant growth regulator just to kind of help slow things down a little bit, because the growth season is starting to take off a little bit on this bent grass, and I just don't want it to get away from me. And so everything's starting to look really good. You can see the collars, I know they're shaggy right now, but they're starting to fill in. And that bare spot we have back there in the back, it's starting to creep in a little bit as well. So everything's looking really good. We're in good shape. So let's go get the mower set up to mow the putting green, and then we'll get a nice mow. So I've had this thing set up for about 1/4 of an inch. That's what we've been mowing the Remuda at out front, and so far it's liking it. So in years past we've been at 3/8, but this year it's taken 1/4, so we'll see how that holds out. But for the putting green, I've been mowing at 9/64, and that's 1406 inches. And so I need to get this adjusted for that. So whenever you start mowing a putting green, you'd be amazed at what the difference a 1/64 of an inch makes. So, you know, you would think, okay, you're at 9/64, why not just go to an 8? Well, oddly enough, if I push that one more 64, so from 9/64 to 8/64, that gives you an 8. If I push that one more 8 down to an 8, turf doesn't really like it, and you'll start to see a lot of stress on that when you do that. And so that's why I want to go ahead and do some top dressing just to help alleviate some of that stress, get a little smoother surface. We'll also get our reel and bed knife up out of kind of the canopy of the turf and get us up a little higher where we're cutting off you know, more of the leaf tissue and not getting down into it as deep. And so that light top dressing, if you think about it, it's going to raise it up about another 1/64 of an inch at least. So that's kind of how that works. That's how putting greens, if you really get down and look at them on a golf course, all you see is just the tips of the grass. You don't see like the crowns, I guess is what you'd call it, that are deep down. You don't see them cutting into that. And that's why, it's because of all that top dressing. Did you guys just see that? Bird just pooped all over the mower, flying overhead. So here's a little tip whenever you're adjusting these Toro reels, is whenever you're going back and forth checking this, you'll see your measurement changes from side to side sometimes. And so what I've finally figured out is if you'll snug up this bolt, not tight, but just get it snug, and then make your real last fine adjustments on top here, you can really dial it in the way you want it, and it won't move around. So when you put just a little bit of tension right there, that's what helps you dial it in.
So you got the same.
Yep, we got the same wrench.
Try to take that off.
So we like to make sure we get both mowers set when we're mowing that putting green.
Make sure all of them are ready to go. I got 2 tools. I got the blue. I got red and blue.
Yeah. And so whenever I'm getting set up for putting green, I really take my time. I go back and forth and check it multiple times, because just the slightest variance can make just a huge difference. You know, if you have one edge that's dragging down in the turf too far, you're going to have a cut line down through your turf. So you just want to make sure everything is perfectly square and set up before you go do that, because there's just such a fine amount of space in there that you're cutting. So we're all set. We're going to go mow. And of course, it's always a good idea to do your paper test before you go mow. So we're still cutting clean. So we're in good shape. So the way I like to go about this, I'm gonna go weed eat the edges first, and then we're gonna mow the collars, and then I'll come back and blow all that material off. That way we have a smooth surface, and we'll go mow the putting green. So we got the edges mowed, got the collars trimmed up. So now we need to get out here and blow all this debris off. And there's just a ton of worm castings out here today because of that rain. So we're gonna try to clean up a little bit before we mow the surface with the Greensmaster. That looks a whole lot better. I went ahead and did a double cut because it was so long. And so the reason you'll do a double cut is whenever you mow after it's been a while and the grass is tall, is when you mow, those rollers tend to push the leaf blade over. And so it'll cut a lot of it, but you'll see there's a lot of fuzz there and it just doesn't look good and your ball won't roll as well. And so what I did is I went the opposite direction, back around again, and so that cleaned it up. It's just like getting a haircut, right? They take the shears and they go up and down, same concept. You're going up and down basically on your putting surface, and that's how you get all that trimmed where it's nice and tight and you don't have all that leaf tissue laying over. And so that's why they mow every day as well, because it grows quick, but also everything starts to stand back up as the day progresses. And so that's why the ball starts to slow down in the evening versus, you know, after a fresh cut in the morning on the golf course. It's the same deal. So that's why we did double cut, get everything nice and short and tight again. And so now I'm ready to do that light top dressing. So let's go over there, we'll load up some sand. And so I get asked quite a bit, you know, what kind of sand do you need to do top dressing on a putting green? And kind of the generic answer for that is to use masonry sand. It's not quite USGA spec, but it works really well for what we do. But the problem I have with masonry sand out here is it often has a lot of pebbles in it. It's got a lot of this debris. It's got a lot of these little rocks in it. And so the way I get around that is I actually use these sifting pans. And I'll link to these in the description. These things are inexpensive and they work really well. You can put them on top of a 5-gallon bucket. You put your sand on top of them and you just shake it and sift it, and it flows through, lets the clean sand flow through into the 5-gallon bucket, and you just toss the debris out on top. And they make various sizes of these. I think this is the 1/20th version, and so it gets all the junk out of the sand and lets the good stuff pass through. And so I keep all my sand in these trash cans because it keeps everything dry, keeps everything clean, and just makes for a good, easy storage for it. So I've got an 80-pound hopper for a fertilizer spreader, and I've got the sand tray in it that I'll show you here in just a moment. But we're just gonna load this up with 80 pounds worth of sand and do just one pass of it for this light top dressing we're gonna do. And so this is an Earthway fertilizer spreader. I've done a few videos on that, and I'll link to those so you guys can check them out. But this one has the, I think it's a high flow, it's a blue tray, and the way this thing works is it has a really large mouth in it, so you can open this up and it lets a lot of material flow real easily. But what's neat about this is these teeth will actuate back and forth as this thing moves. And so it's kind of like a comb and shakes back and forth to keep the sand flowing smoothly. So this thing works out really good for that. As long as your sand's dry, it can handle a little bit wet material, but not too much. You know, like most spreaders, sand will stick when it's wet, but this does really good at giving an even flow. Alright, so we put out a light top dressing there, and you can see how it kind of built up here in the middle, but that's okay because I talked about before that I have a hard ridge right down through the middle because a few years ago I lost this half of the putting green and I had to re-till all this, and so I've always had this little lip right here. So anytime I do a top dressing, I'll pile it up right here in the middle. That way it'll just help smooth all that out. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a push broom and come back through here and just brush all this in a little bit, and we're going to brush off some of this that piled up and accumulated down here as well. Just that way it doesn't pile up and we have a nice smooth putting surface. Alright, so to brush this in on bent grass putting green, this is a really soft bristle push broom. You can use a regular broom on Bermuda, you can do that all day long, but don't use that on bent grass, it'll tear it up and kind of cause some damage on it. So I just use a real soft bristle broom for this. I'm just going to go through here and brush this through. Alright guys, so we got that light top dressing down, and this is what you're going to see. You're going to see a little bit of sand on top, and that's okay. And so all you need to do from here is just water it in and wait a couple of days before you start mowing again. You don't want to get on it too quickly because the sand will dull your reels. So just give it some time to kind of work itself in, and you don't need to take the broom and just keep brushing it in over and over. It's not going to give you any increased benefit. Just let it settle, let it do its thing, and the rollers on your mower will help roll this out and make it smooth again. And so one thing I want to caution you guys about is there's so many people out there right now that are making these home putting greens, but what they're doing is they're smothering an area of Bermuda grass with sand. And you can do that with Bermuda. It takes a little bit of time for Bermuda to grow through that, but it can do it. It's a really strong grass type. But if you're doing a real putting green out of bent grass, do not do that, because smothering it in sand will choke it out and kill it. And that's just not the way you maintain real putting greens. And that's why you'll see golf courses out there, they'll do these light top dressings, and you know, you guys can still play golf on it because it's not super thick, right? So don't do that. If you're doing a real bent grass putting green like this, just be smart about what you're doing and do light top dressings, and don't go choke it out like these guys are doing on the internet. And so anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I just want to say hey to all you new subscribers. I'm glad you guys are part of our community, and if you're new to us, go ahead and subscribe and like this video. We're going to keep doing some really neat things this year with the putting green, and I've got some more bent grass in the back, and I've got Celebration Bermuda out front we'll keep doing some maintenance on. And so I'm happy to have you guys along. I'm really excited about this channel growing, and that's what we're here for, is for you guys. And so anyways guys, I hope you've enjoyed it. That's going to do it for this one. We'll see you in the next one.